Hello, welcome back to another Ruffa Sports Cars video. In today's video, I'm just going to be talking about a topic at hand that has kind of been taking the sports card and card scene by storm. It's very unethical what was happening, or what is accused to be happening at a particular grading company. We'll talk about that here. That's just going to be unedited footage here, literally so much so that I'm not even turning on my lights for good lighting, as I'm just going to be talking. But if you don't know, and if you're curious at all, the big story of the town right now, or the hobby, is literally PSA has had some questionable decisions as a company, or just as a grading business in general. It's kind of crazy to me what has kind of popped up, and really it's PSA is the king of kings when it comes to grading right now, or at least before this has kind of come to light. If you don't know, I'm not even gonna pop up anything or anything like that, but if you do search up on Google or Instagram, or however you like to search up your information, there's been stories about PSA potentially grading a card and then grading it like a PSA 9, and then once they buy it back, they offer the buyback program now for PSA. I'll talk about that. It's once they offer the buyback, or to buy back the PSA 9, they will then correct their error in the grading. So in essence, now that PSA has offers out on cards, and they do buy their own slabs. So if you don't know, you can send cards off to PSA grading, and they just recently implemented a feature that if you have any slabs, even older ones that haven't been, aren't just freshly certified by them, if they've ever been certified by PSA, they potentially will have offers out. Not all cards will have offers, and not all offers stand on the cards. So it's not even a question mark if they will offer you on the card or not, or if that offer will even be there for you to take when those cards do get to the system and all that. If you don't know how that process works, you pretty much say you have a PSA slab, you can look up what their offer is, look up the certificate number, see if there is an offer. If you like it, what you'd have to do is you'd have to take the PSA slab, send it in to the PSA vault, their vaulting storage system for PSA, and then it has to get submitted and processed by PSA to go into their vault. And once it is registered into their vault, eventually you'll be able to look at the offers and actually accept an offer if it is available. And those do change in between those times of you sending it off, and even overnight, or insert time frame there. They are always subject to change potentially. So that program and that offering system has now caused and arised a issue that is kind of crazy. Especially PSA. PSA is such a high, renowned name, highly renowned name. It's high in the hobby tier list, probably for most people. When you think of grading companies, it's PSA nowadays. Maybe that will change. A lot of people are not very happy with what had happened, and if you don't know what happened, I already explained a little bit earlier. But so let's say if I'm gonna guess you do know a basic amount of stuff to do with cards. If you went and did a PSA submission today and you submitted your cards, then you expect to have the same process happen always, right? You're hoping that a 9 is always a 9. You're hoping a 10 is always a 10. You're hoping a 1 is always a 1. But so what PSA did, allegedly, and I don't know the validity or insert words there that I don't know. I just saw a couple posts about it, and some people talking about it, and I don't even know the full extent. But if you send in a PSA submission, say you were expecting or hoping for a 10 or a 9, you're like, if it gets a 9, it should only get a 9 at the lowest grade, I think, and then I'm hoping it gets that 10, though. Like, it has the really good chance to get the 10, or if you always just think you're only going to submit 10s, and then you end up getting some 9s back, and then you look at the offer, you say, oh, hey, look, this $50 card, they're offering me $55 for. Then you take the offer because while it's there at PSA, before they send it back to you, they allow you to take those offers and you can skip that vaulting time because it's already in their possession. They already have that card. So you have the option to accept the offer before you have the card sent back to you, or also you can even PSA, submit them to the PSA vault instead of having them shipped home to you, so you can sell through the eBay platform that they offer now, and they run it on auction, or insert other things you can do with the PSA vault or PSA service there. But what a person claimed that they had happened to them was they did a submission, sent in cards, and a couple came back a 9, a PSA 9. So if you don't know the tier list, it goes from 1 to 10, 9 being, well, it's really good still, right? And it is, they consider near mint, or mint, I think actually it's mint. And that's just one step below a 10. A PSA 10 is the gem mint. That is the creme de la creme, the beautiful card that you can have, the most beautiful card that you can have, except for BGS Black Label 10s, is more or less the next step up. But PSA, in PSA's terms, that is the best condition card you can ever get from them. Actually, them, personally. So what happened, or what allegedly happened, was he sent in the submission, got 3 9s back. He looked at their offers, felt comfortable at 9 prices, or the value of that 9 there. I'll take that offer. I'll take their offer of a 9 of what they're offering for my 9s. So he accepted their offer of PSA 9, and then by some chance or something or the other, he decided to look up the certificate number, and then he ended up seeing that the PSA certificate number actually indicated now that it was a gem mint 10. So in theory, or in essence, what was allegedly happening is they offered on the 9, the PSA 9's card, he took their offer. And then PSA said, well, while they were doing their last checks or what have you, because they have like a little different, process, they decided, hey, this is actually not a 9, this is a 10. So then they switched over to a 10 when they bought it for a 9 price. And then apparently he reached out to them or something of the sort. And then he ended up, the PSA actually ended up compensating them or something of the sort. I don't know if they got the card or if they ended up, upgrading their offer to what they would do for the 10. And either way, either way, it really doesn't matter much. I mean, the 10 thing, I don't know. Now that's the story of what happened. It's a little bit weird, even to me. As a, obviously, it's all subject to opinion and all that, and, do your own research, all that. I meant, when I was saying the subject to opinion, I meant grading cards in particular. I could look at this card and say, hey, especially, professional-wise, this is my professional opinion, this card is near mint or better. And then someone else can look at that same card and say, oh, no, that's a PSA 5, or they call it excellent, poor, bad, damage, however you want to look at it, right? But it's when you have a service that you are, paying professional graders, and you have a set standards of grading qualities, grading, standards, right? Then that's where that 9 to 10, like that switcheroo, kind of, it's like, well, why? is that happening? Why is that even, a possibility? Obviously, everyone kind of already knows, if you've been in the card scene at all or know people at all. If you've ever submitted, especially, you know, there's not much crazy, consistent values and standards when it does come to grading. Even myself, in my first submission, I gemmed a card that had like 1 or 2 surface dots, they call it surface dots, but they're like little bubbles, like almost like little tiny like circles on the actual surface of the card. It's not a crazy major flaw, but I know people that have seen those flaws and said, oh, it won't take 10, and I'm like, oh, I actually have graded a 10 with that card, with that error before, that issue before. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that's going to happen every single time, but it is surely possible by somehow that issue could potentially get a 10. Now, it also kind of even brings up a different potential issue with the grading processes. Let's just say it grades a 10, and then they PSA offers on it, and then they accept the offer. But then they, review the card, they do their last final checks, and then they say, oh, that card has whitening, and that's a crease right there. Then they lower the grade to a 7. Now you've had the opposite issue where, oh, PSA now has the potential to, offer on the 10, have someone take their offer, and then review it, check it out, and then now it's a 7, and now one or the other person has to take the hit on the thing, and more than likely it's probably not much up to the actual consumer of that thing. If I had to get, it would be amazing if PSA did, and kudos to PSA if they would actually take that hit. I mean, they're such a big company, they should be willing to actually just say, hey, you know what, that's on us, right? I do that quite a little bit sometimes. I don't know if if someone that might be out there listening to this video or have watched some of my videos in the past, or been on the Whatnot stream, is where I'm trying to get at. They've been on the Whatnot stream, they purchased something from me, I am putting it into their package, and then I do my I take it out of the penny sleeve, and then I'm like, is that a dimple? And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not sending that card out. But I do end up sending that card out. So what I do is I end up refunding their money, and then I end up canceling their order. Is what you have to do. You cancel their order for that particular card, and then I actually end up saying a message, hey, this card didn't pass. I noticed a flaw with it. I'm gonna send it in your order free of charge on me, and I hope that you enjoy it until you get an adequate copy to actually suffice for your collection, is what I do. And now I might not catch every single thing, and sometimes especially like players like MJ or something like that, I have to be a little less strict. I can't be, oh, it has to be a perfect copy. It's Michael Jordan. It's Michael Jordan. It's not going to be, if it's a Gem Mint 10 copy, I should probably send it in. But I mean, obviously, I'm sure I've sold some Gem 10s of Michael Jordan too. I just mean, in essence, like, if it's Michael Jordan, and obviously I try to point out those issues too, but I'm gonna have my standards of quality be less. It's 30 years old at this point for some of those cards, and some of the sometimes the brand new sets also look worse, especially fresh out the pack sometimes. I'm not trying to say anything there, but my point being is that sometimes as a business person, or even just a person in general, that you've made a mistake, and you do take the hit on something like a PSA 9 grade, and then you get the 10, and you know what and it wouldn't have made any difference to them or to the situation at all. They sort of said, you know what, that's on us. We should have, what really would have been a step up and a tier up was if they didn't have I don't know if the customer realized on their own right or anything like that, but if they ever do have a issue where they say, hey, now this card isn't actually the grade we think, they just still give the person the money, obviously, especially as a PSA dealer, PSA approved thing. Yeah, this is what I would do personally, right? Like PSA as a company, this is what I do personally, but you have to have such high standards to be a PSA dealer and et cetera, whoever they approve to buy from the actual PSA, subscription website, and do offers like that. I think that they should say, hey, you know what, this was, this was supposed to be a 9 to us. We realize it's not, it's a 10. So we're just going to give you the 9 price, and you can decide if you want to sell it for the 10 or if you want to keep the 10 as well. That doesn't really even change anything. Honestly, they probably won't ever do that. But I think that extra, hey, enjoy the, it wasn't our intention to have that happen. Here's a little, you accepted it as a 9, and now you have that increased thing. And then I think also they would probably have more people accept their 10 offers after that happens. Like, oh, hey, whoa, I get a extra $50 and I get the 10 offer at 90%. So in essence, I'm getting potentially 100% plus of the comp. And then they can put in their power packs or whatever else. But I don't think that'll be how they adapt or change. But as a business owner, I think we can kind of all learn from things like that too. It's not, we're not PSA, right? We're not a big dog company, but I really do think that if you want to go far, you need to be thinking and contemplating or trying to see or thinking about how, if a situation might occur, how you do or how you can or how you do address or will address the situation at hand. Some things like, for me personally, I went on Whatnot after I create the label to have the label be printed. Like, once I create the label and say, hey, I'm ready to have this label go on the package, as a Whatnot seller, I'll create the label, and I then can't refund the buyer or the customer. It kind of is a protection for the seller, and it's also a little bit of a protection for the buyer as well. Once you see that, hey, your label's been created, hey, okay, they should not have any more cancellations. So now, hey, I'm locked in. I am actually expected to get all of the cards. But as a seller also, I've had issues where, potentially a person tries to claim that they, something or the other, something came up, they had the wrong address, something of the sort. There's a whole bunch of different situations that do pop up as a Whatnot seller that I couldn't refund them because I created the label. So in a situation like maybe on eBay or somewhere else, you would be actually, encouraged or, actually pretty much expected to end up refunding them for the thing that they bought, because it says it stopped popping up any updates or whatever. And then, it's like, it was literally at the post office right down their street, and then it says it's in the car, and then it never has the final delivered thing, and then it somehow never pops up as delivered on eBay. And then you have to refund them, and then you just kind of go and do their insurance claim process. eBay is amazing, where they are really good at getting you even full compensation. So even before fees. So even if you do have a lost mail claim for eBay standard envelope, it's a little bit better for you potentially, except for obviously now you have the issue of you lost a card in the mail. Now there's less cards in the world, or at least less cards that should be at their rightful owners. But so yeah, there was me kind of going on a little tangent. But my point is that as a business owner, there was times where I probably would have compensated or done more things for the customer that I had been limited to where I couldn't. But as a business owner myself, and someone who, especially very early on, I would be, super nice, and I would even throw in extra cards, especially at the beginning. I would throw in extra cards. Kind of stopped doing that after a month or so, just because I was kind of running out of cards, and I realized, so it takes me a lot more time to throw in cards and think about it meticulously. Oh, this person spent $15. I'm gonna throw in 2-3 cards. This person spent $2. I'll just give them a random vet base card or something like that. And they like this team, so I'm gonna put that team in there. The point being is that especially as someone who might be especially too nice, or potentially more taken advantage of, depending on who you are and who you consider yourself being, right? It's nice to have a little bit of you can't have that situation occur where you do end up refunding them when whatnot determines they got that card, so they're not going to do anything for them. So you just let them take care of it, and they take care of all those things like that. So that aspect is nice. But as a business owner, I do know that if we didn't have Whatnot or eBay, and we had to do our own claims and stuff like that, especially like say, look, I determined that, like, prime example, I determined that this card was worse condition than I thought, so I'm going to cancel you and not send it to your order. And then you stash it aside, and then in actuality, what you're doing is you're removing this card, saying, oh, hey, wow, this card is really, really clean. I should send it off. And then you look at it, you say, I think I'm gonna get a 10. So then you send that off, you cancel their order, stash it aside, and the customer never gets to see the actual copy of the card that you were talking about that is worse condition. So I think that is, that's kind of the example there. Oh, hey, that was my bad. So you get the refund, you get the free card on me. You can see why my thought process was of canceling it, and you can actually have the card to enjoy. Now, obviously it's a little different with PSA, obviously upgrading the card and all that. And I just personally think that there should be certain regulations too, and there will be, I think, regulations and law that happen, potentially laws, but lawsuits I think will happen. The big thing, like literally, I think lawsuits will happen. I don't think grading companies should be allowed to own, sell, or purchase, recreate, alter, insert, etc. here. Like, they should not be able to purchase, own, sell, once it's done, it should be done. Like, that's your, I guess, I just mean, like, as in, like, if they ever go and see a copy of a Mickey Mantle Topps, card, insert year there, then they go, oh, that's a 1? How is that a 1? And then they buy that 1 and give it a 4, it just creates a very big transparency issue in the hobby. Like, oh, hey, now we're gonna alleviate and lenient our standards and potentially re-slab cards. That's pretty much what they did, was in the ownership of either a PSA dealer, PSA themselves, or just anyone in general. They literally altered the value of that card. They did it of their own doing. It wasn't like, hey, it wasn't like there was any system in place, and obviously, hopefully there is now, and hopefully it does never happen again. But we'll see. Time will tell if it does happen again or not. But PSA is kind of under heat right now for it. I think in the future it could be, you know, something to look at and potentially monitor. But so yeah, so I was gonna send off a PSA submission. I already announced a little bit ago. I still haven't done that. I kind of got busy. Didn't end up getting my printer set up to actually send out or print out the stuff and all that. So I think I'm gonna keep my cards ready to submit, but not submitted, because if PSA does kind of go under fire and you know, get some backlash more and more here, I don't know if I want my cards stuck at PSA, and I don't know if I want my cards graded by PSA. Now, I'm sure it's not going to change a ton. I'm sure that really, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in our hobby that people grab the pitchforks for, and the fire sticks and whatever else they will grab and try to cause a riot. And then what really happens is nothing really happens. Now, people do that for a lot of reasons too. They might not have anything to gain of it themselves. They might be tired of watching other people gain. They might, you know, be trying it. A lot of thing is that they want their own personal benefit to increase. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things. I don't think it's going to matter a crazy ton in the grand scheme of things. PSA is PSA, and especially we as a complete community can, you know, realize, hey, this is very concerning, and really, maybe there's a lot more going on than we can even determine or realize, even if it's not fully, you know, a purposefully done thing. It's still happening, and how often is it going to happen? But so yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave you off. Really, I think, yeah, especially as a business owner in the card scene, I think it is a little worrying that especially someone so big and for so little potential gain could have that happen. And obviously, it kind of brings up the issues of, hey, maybe PSA really does have no, clue or potential, knowledge of an event like that happening. And it's like, well, now it kind of brings up the question of, hey, is PSA really in control at PSA? There's a whole bunch of things, you could, bring up or question, or I think that's why a lot of people, I've seen somebody even stop group submissions with PSA for the time being, effective, immediately. What is it? It's effective immediately and forever until future notice or something. Some odd, whatever the wording there is, that if it's effective immediately, that they're going to stop PSA submissions, and indefinitely. There you go, indefinitely, until something changes or something comes up, or until further announced. But yeah, so I'm going to get going. I have some stuff I need to get ready for whatnot orders, and there is some other things as well. So yeah, I think really look out for future laws and regulations. Look out for the potential downfall of PSA. I don't know if that's what's going to be happening, but it surely could be. But yeah, so that's where I'm going to leave you guys. I appreciate you watching, taking these with me. I hope I see you in the next one, and deuces.